Hello there, Steam people. Is everybody in? The ceremony's about to begin. Father, I want to kill you. Oh yeah, all right, we've already been there. We know my little ode to Morrison of the gym variety there. That's about as far as we'll go with that, you know. Enough mother issues to unpack here. We don't, my shrink gets all of those, right? We don't need to bring those down into the steam tunnels. That might be a little bit too much. But we are back. Yes, we have reconvened back around our sacred table of geek. It is the Steam Gentleman. It is I, Josh the Birdman, making his descension into the steam tunnels today, back to bring you more of those questions that everyone is afraid to ask in pop culture and social commentary. I'm joined by the sacred council, the triumvirate themselves. Let me go around the table and introduce you. First, bringing it to it with the funkadelic, that psychedelic sound, the Star Child himself, coming off the mothership. It is Gregory Descents. How you doing today?
Oh, I wish I was on the mothership. That's fantastic. I'm feeling all right. I feel good. I'm ready to talk fucking shit about shit and fucking shit to some syncopated Negro music. Yes.
Greg is, in fact, leaning into our subject matter today. First thing, gotta love that. But yeah, also making it that we are in this lovely space where we can put on the explicit tag on our podcast, which is great because we can say the naughty words. We like the naughty words. I just like to use them, at that particular time when needed. Sometimes you just got to use those naughty words. It's all right. Those explicit lyrics. But we are not finished yet. We have also joining us a expert in his field, one of the finest, one of the tops that ever walked the face of the planet, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. The hardest working man in show business. He's number one in Germany. He's number one in Berlin. He's a sweet soul, brother. He is RaShaun Smith, the Three of Clubs. How you doing today?
What do you do? How do you do? The only thing I'm an expert in is that I'm not an expert in anything. And to be fair, it was only a few streets in Germany in which they yelled my name. But I'm fairly certain it wasn't a celebration. So, it's up for debate on who's really
Even in Germany too. Pull inside.
Let's just say it was a misunderstanding, and I'm probably not welcome back at that coffee shop. But however, I
mean, that's fair.
We are here now today, and I will say they had lovely scones.
Lovely scones. Okay, RaShaun's review of Germany. Scones, top notch.
Yeah,
that was,
You just gotta be careful of what bands you talk shit about. That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Still holding a candle for Ramson, so careful out there.
I mean, I still think that's a fair statement, but all right.
No, didn't experience any sauerkraut, some schnitzel of any kind. Nothing going on there. The scones are really what made it for you.
Yeah, especially since I'm making all this up and I've never been to Germany.
Fair enough.
So
give it away, man.
Why not?
Oh, there you go.
But ironically enough, Germany in a lot of ways tends to be a lot fair to people of my complexion than my own home country,
and quite
which is hilarious.
Actually, wouldn't be too bad these days for someone of my ethnicity.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I would argue you probably have a better time than me.
These days, probably
they actually put flags up and signs of what they're not gonna fuck around and do again. And our country decides to nah, man, we're gonna make those guys heroes.
There's the details, details. But yeah, I would be willing to wager that even I would have a fine time, and before the Germans get here. But
because the Germans got there.
Before the Germans get here.
Because they got there.
It'd be weird if we didn't see any.
Right about now in Ukraine, that's what they're hoping for, at least as far as the tanks go. But all right. But nevertheless, we have convened. We have come back around the table, and we bring with us another subject, another nut to crack, another onion to peel, to get down into the layers. And today, well, we want to talk about being explicit We want to talk about saying the word fuck, shit, piss, whatever we need to say as many times as possible just to piss our parents off. And if we were more talented, we would be putting it to music because, yes, that's what it's about. Explicit lyrics. Yep. We're looking at you, Tipper Gore, the one who changed the country, the one who made sure that to make sure all our ear holes remained clean and our souls remained intact, that our spine would not twist, our teeth would not rot out, and we would not lose the war for the Allies. Speaking such filth.
Really worked out for her too, especially since some of the songs that she campaigned against are in commercials or in children films now.
Isn't that the best? Isn't that just the
nailed it?
Isn't that just the best of how time marches on and just, makes it such a wonderful thing, right? Yesterday's controversy. We were talking about that a little before we started taping the show officially, that what seems so frightening to one generation later on is barely a blip on the radar. But the three of us definitely being of it embraced in the bosom, since I'm going for explicit lyrics, let's go for bosom. The bosom, Gen X, how we came about and were raised in a time where, they were really, really worried about what we heard. And so much so that, you kids today, you Zillennials, you don't have the joy of opening up that CD case, destroying half the planet with the extra cardboard and plastic, right? Remember they used to wrap it in extra trees and then wrap that in plastic and then wrap the inside in plastic too. You don't get that anymore. But there used to be that little sticker on the outside, warning, explicit lyrics, which just told you everything you needed to know. It told you this was the album, this was the song, these were the music you wanted to be listening to. If it didn't have that, that might I don't want to say it would totally deter you from buying it, but you'd think twice, right? If it hadn't earned that mark of distinction. And really, as we look back on it, for time immemorial, hasn't that always been what society's been worried about? The thing you say, the dance you do, whatever it is that's gonna absolutely rip apart the fabric of society and make us all into some kind of social degenerates, right? This is not a new concept.
Yeah, this was a thing. It's real.
Totally a thing. I think we'd be remiss for individuals who grew up in New England, especially in the 80s and the 90s, to not give a shout out to Newberry Comics, because I swear to God, that was their entire premise. They basically almost put the warning material, mature material, as their advertisement and nothing else. Like, they just basically made clear to every single adolescent in a 100-mile radius, hey, that shit that you're not allowed to either look at a different comic store or a music store, or you can't order, or blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and come over here. Go ahead and check it out. Don't worry, we're not going to let you, in heavy air quotations, buy any of these things without supervision. But I swear to God, they knew every parent in Framingham, and by that I mean they did not. But they were totally on the kick of, hey, free speech is free speech, even if you're 12 years old and you just, got your new copy of let's say, like I don't know, Milkman,
Dead Milkman.
Dead Milkman, thank you.
Dead Milkman, Dead Kennedys. Dead Kennedys. There's a lot of death, a lot of dead going on there.
Yeah, I had morphine on my mic, so I was just listening. But...
Okay, morphine, butthole surfers. Yeah, the list goes on and on, right? Even just the very name, right?
Yeah, or the comics that came from creators that no one gave a shit about, or were way too graphic. Comics from the original creator of TMNT to, basically some of those Marvel stuff that was actually, it would probably be more an Image. That was way hardcore.
And I forget, was Dark Horse who did Sandman originally? Greg, you probably know that.
Dark Horse, yeah.
Dark Horse, things like that. Yeah, things of that nature.
So I got an Aliens comic that I think was still Dark Horse at the time.
Yep. So even there, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So shout out to Newberry Comics. Sorry.
Shout out to Newberry Comics, the ultimate gateway drug to all the naughty pictures and language that they just.
I didn't even cover their posters. I didn't even cover the posters in the back.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really say Newberry Comics only because I don't remember a record store ever stopping me from buying an album because
you were born 22
and. It's possible. And
I've seen your baby pictures. That's a full beard.
And yeah, I don't think, yeah, I mean, there was always a source, and plus, I mean, let's be honest, they didn't work very hard at it, did they?
Oh,
Um,
source, yeah. No, they didn't even know what was in the
yeah, they didn't
magazine.
really work hard at it
They
at
didn't even know
all.
it was in there.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
had no idea. So, well, with that, Star Child, you agreed to step on up to the plate today. So take it away. Talk about your experience and talk about how the explicit lyrics just put a hole in your soul and twisted your mind and made you into the degenerate that you are today.
I'm Catholic. You know, being a degenerate just happens. Um, I was gonna say, for when we were growing up, obviously you had a lot of leaps in what was considered a lot of bad use of bad language and an excessive use of bad language. At the time, your most, I feel like there's two things we want to talk about: actual bad words and then just offensive content, because there was a lot of just, I don't know, needless. I mean, it was after the 60s, like there was a lot of needless swearing going on. And obviously, a lot of it was for more of an adult audience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that anyone on that album was saying anything that was really massively controversial. I mean, it's this, it's someone going on about pussy, but they could just be using fuck and shit and goddamn because they want to just seem that edgy, because I feel like that's a little bit of edginess that you can manage. On the other end of the spectrum, I think it was much worse to say something that was considered offensive. Like, pretty much even when I was a kid, before I knew who Ozzy Osbourne was, I knew what Ozzy Osbourne did. And since I knew that, I used to think that this man must be the evilest man on 2 feet, just to find out he's just kind of a British weirdo. And so it does make you try to put into think about, where is the criticism coming from? So if I'm going to just talk about bad words, I mean, that 90s hip hop. Oh, that 90s hip hop. I mean, it's really hard to get past that, because with rap music, I feel like it escalated so quickly. And I do respect the argument that it would be disingenuous for these young men who really do use this language day to day to not use it, and obviously their expression. But at the same time, you do have to stop and remember, like, this is just a record company telling them to pour that shit on because it's good for record sales. And it comes off, I have to admit, it's so fucking angsty now. Oh, there is a lot of shit that is just tough to listen to because it's so angsty. Like, they're trying so hard. And that's not to say that some of them weren't actually, they probably were. Like, some of them were actually up to some shit, obviously. But at the same time, you are forcing it, dude. Like, you are really, really forcing it. And the epitome of it was probably when they started rhyming, I'll say the N word, when they started rhyming the N word with the N word. It's like, all right, guys, guys. And sometimes they do it like 4 or 5 times in a row. Like, they would just end the sentence with the N word. And I was like, they actually counted how many times NWA, where the N word is in the title of their name. All right. And how many times they said the N word.
Spoiler alert.
Fast
Spoiler,
forward.
yeah.
Yeah. Fast forward, like, 10, 15 years to like Ja Rule. And like, he said the N word like 250 times, something ridiculous like that. So, like, that leap in the kind of language that was being used, like, it was just so excessive that it felt poured on needlessly. And a lot of it, yeah, it is pretty tough to listen to. Back then, it was the voice of the gutter. Like, now it's just angsty as shit and a little bit painful. And even when I hear like new rappers come out and kind of use the same timbre and just like pour it on extra thick, I'm like, all right, so the formula really hasn't changed much, has it? Like, not really. And obviously, parents up and down the line were saying how this is the worst thing. It's like, boy, you need to put on some Temptations and shut the fuck up. Like, all of this was always going to be in the background because, let's be honest, like, they, even for what was considered, an edgy album of their day didn't sound like this. Like this just sounded like a bunch of over the top swearing. So obviously when we were young, we defended it to the death. Now, yeah, that shit's hilarious. And then we want to talk about bad subject matter. Now, subject matter, you can get more into rock and roll because particularly as things shifted and we looked at the lifestyle of, if not the lyrics of, a lot of the hair bands and rock bands out of the 80s, their lifestyle was definitely hedonistic. And that was probably scarier than the actual albums, what they were saying on a lot of their albums. A lot of their albums were pretty disingenuous, cheesy love songs when you just talk about the lyrics, or they were just, unabashedly misogynistic. And that moved into the grunge.
Wait. I gotta interject here. Are you saying Cherry Pie is misogynistic?
It just might be. It just might be.
Just even the cover art. I mean, are you throwing that out there? Right now?
Yeah, it just might be. You know, that wholesome stuff.
It's not about dessert.
It's very wholesome. It's all very who doesn't like pie? Right.
Next thing you're gonna say pour some sugar on me. It was also sexual.
Oh gosh.
No way. But that was it. For that, it was the subject matter thing, which they probably missed once they moves into the 90s. And just the look of these guys just makes you think they're going to convince you that suicide is fun. Like they just looked like a bunch of dead end wasters and girls who looked like they weren't going to get married right away. Like you just couldn't trust them. Whoever they were, you just couldn't trust them. They just droned on and on about misery and how life is going nowhere. And you know what? In a lot of cases, you were right. A lot more of it was just, let's be honest, with grunge and that movement was just whimsical, weird shit. It just so happened that the people who were singing it were exceedingly unattractive, but actually a lot of it was just bizarre subject matter. But again, when you looked at them, and then there were, yes, some overdoses, and there was a couple of suicides, and it, just fed into that idea that listening to grunge means you're going to throw your life away, right? And actually,
love you say couple,
and a couple. And it fueled the idea that for white kids you had the grunge that was going to get them to kill themselves, and over for black kids you had the hip hop, which was going to get them to kill each other.
Gangster rap specifically.
And gangster rap specifically, but I mean that's what was hot at the time. As much as I want to believe that in my heartest of hearts everybody was listening to Del the Funky Homo Sapien, they weren't.
Well, yeah, Tribe, yeah, De La. I mean, you had some alternatives.
They did all right, but let's be honest. What was really hot at the time was absolutely anything related to Dr. Dre. Mm-hmm. And the Chronic. Oh my God, so angsty. And skits. Why did skits happen? Shits weren't even that funny. But you got albums that had like 25 tracks and like 12 of them would be skits. Like, it was, yeah.
Comedy CDs were blowing up at the time, and that's why.
But that was exactly it. This was like the new thing that was supposed to destroy the youth. And for a little while, I'm sure they felt like this had to be absolutely worse than the music they know for a fact came out in the 70s and the 60s. And
also about fucking.
And also about fucking. But, the music that now is being lionized, because don't forget, like now all of a sudden time changes. So jazz and blues, which used to be the vulgar, again, syncopated Negro music, was now being accepted. So for now, especially, everybody throwing their arms around Wu-Tang Clan like they're literally the Black Beatles. They're the Black Beatles. Like, people are just throwing all of these accolades on Wu-Tang Clan. Like that's how far things have come. And so you have to just expect that with any uprising, like you have to expect the unfamiliar and aggressive and targeted to the youth, whatever it is going to be demonized. And the fact that even my generation's doing it, like I listen to motherfuckers my age trying to say, oh, these kids, they need to listen to some Onyx. Not listening to this.
Greg, you've never said that a day in your life. Not even when Onyx was out, you said that.
You need to These kids need to put on some fooshnickens. I tell you, I don't know about the fooshnickens.
Let the boys be boys. Come on.
Yeah.
Everybody sing it.
It's only natural, and let's be honest, the more your parents hate it, the more you're going to love it. So thank you, parents, always.
Well, I have to.
Only Shaq is asking for the Pushnickens these days. Only Shaq.
Only Shaq.
Shaq Fu.
Shaquille O'Neal is the only person walking around like, you know what, they're not playing anymore? Pushnickens. Even Pushnickens like, yo.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It was a time. It was a moment. It's over.
Would it be too much for you guys to put on some ultramagnetic MCs? Seriously.
I mean, now we're digging in there.
Kids.
Wow. Greg is our deep track guy for sure. Greg always knows. Greg knew underground hip hop. Probably still knows underground hip hop, I'm guessing.
Not as much.
Oh, no question.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I do. I've always, kept track of it, but especially the Boston scene is not what it used to be.
Acrobatics still making tracks?
Not really.
Okay, he was my favorite around here, but okay.
Oh man, that last 10 seconds said a lot more than it needed to. But I would say, yeah, that 93 to 95 period was a little rough for everyone involved. Whether, as you pointed out, if you're gonna be grungy or for gangster hip hop or gangster rap, because it was basically like if you weren't killing and drinking and doing a massive amount of drugs and selling drugs, then you didn't exist. And if you weren't talking about all the problems in the world that you have while living in your parents' palatial middle class house, True indeed. And I love that you nailed it in the sense of the hip hop in a way that we don't normally look at. Because sometimes when you're listening to early hip hop, like early 90s, you're listening to technically grown men, like people in their mid to late 20s, if not early 30s, talk about things like, wait, is that a Christmas wish list you just said? Like, what are you bragging about? Like, look, we love Biggie, I guess. We all love Biggie, I suppose. I don't know. We keep being told that if you like rap. But the point being is, like, you listen to some of his songs, is like, I'm listening to a 16-year-old talk about all the shit he wants. That's it. Like, that is the rap.
Seriously, yeah. It is kind of tough with Biggie, especially because it's like, you've heard him do better, but it's like, especially once that double album hits. I can't remember what the double album was called, but the double album hits. What's that?
I think it was Notorious.
I think it was Notorious. I think I was listening to a track.
Was that the double album, or was it Life After Death?
Life After Death. No, that's the first one.
That's
it's not like we don't have Google. Keep going.
Yeah, all right.
And so I remember listening to that double album, and it was like so hard to get through. Like it's just so over the top, and it took me a while to finally get used to it. But sometimes, like you stop and say like the lyrics back to yourself, and you're like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" This is just verbal flailing.
Let's be real.
There's a difference between flowing and verbal flailing.
Yeah. Ready to Die, Life After Death, and then Notorious.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, one of the tenets they always say in writing, fictiously, is like, or anything, is you got to write about what you know. And to be fair, music is no different. So it's not surprising when I would argue most artists, their best album is going to be their first album, no matter what, because it's a collection of their thoughts. And normally we're listening to the collection of thoughts of teenagers, even if we get to the point where we hear them in their adulthood. Normally, it's some sort of thought process they were having from some part of their teenage years that just continue to get collected, songbook, rap book, whatever you want.
Yeah, so they were young, absolutely.
So by the time we get to it, a lot of those problems. But then when you think about it, you got to write about what you know. So you talked about rock and rap. Well, I would argue a lot of rappers are more actors than they like to let on, but like rock is like, we know about partying and having a lot of sex. So guess what our songs is going to be? And the weird part is, if you go through American music history and frankly global history, a lot of songs actually come back down to just sex. They're just literally trying to talk about sex.
A lot of it.
That's it. Either talking about doing it at that moment or going to get it and figuring out how to do it. Whether we're talking about going after children, someone who likes to shoot crossbows, or if we're talking about, other things, it's normally like a lot of our songs are about sex.
Yeah, well,
Yep, 100%.
As I step up to the plate here, I'm going to take a quick little aside from even what I was thinking about talking about, but I will, just because Greg brought it up, I will recount the very first time I ever heard that classic from, NWA, Fuck the Police. I will never forget. I will never forget the first time I heard that song. I was in the backseat of a car being driven by a dude named TJ and his buddy Paul sitting right next to him, all of us of the same hue. And I immediately felt like I was committing a crime. I got to tell you, I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what to think or what to feel. It was a whole confluence of things. They were saying all kinds of words. And then they even had a guy who was clearly the white cop in all of it, screaming at him. And I just, that was quite the experience. I got to tell you.
I don't remember. I was a hip hop snob, so okay. I don't remember when I first finally heard NWA. I had to. It was long after it came out because I did not care for it when it first came out. And I was just unimpressed. I didn't think that MC Ren sucked because I remember getting his EP. So I remember not thinking that MC Ren was probably the best out of all of them.
Did you guys all know each other?
But yeah, they were pretty awful.
Oh, me and TJ and Paul?
No, I meant all the people that bought MC Ren's EP. Did you guys all know each other? Because
there were 5 of us.
Yeah, there were that tracks. Yes,
you could fit us in a car.
I mean, there has been one hell of a pen pal relationship going on with that one.
They are still on a first name basis. Yeah. But when it comes to
you know what the album, again, angstiness, the album was called Kiss My Black Ass.
There you go. So
angst is a good word.
When it comes to the angst, when it comes to the listening to the music that I knew would piss my parents off, I'm going to go all the way back to the early 80s, maybe in the late 70s. Kid by the name of Johnny Burgess. Have no idea where he is these days. Hope you're doing well, pal. Probably.
Shout out to Johnny.
Probably not doing so well, but he had the posters up for Kiss. Now, Kiss didn't really even have explicit lyrics, right? But what did they do? They were out there in high heels and just like caked on makeup. And, Gene Simmons would chew those blood pellets on stage and like let the blood draw down his chin, right? And my father was having fucking none of this. There was no way.
Because he could hear the lyrics and understand they're always talking about fucking.
They're always right. That's always talking about sex. Like that's all that was. It was just, they were just talking about fucking. They weren't saying fuck, but they were talking about it 100% of the time, right? Even a movie comes out, Kiss versus the Phantom, and I am so enamored by Gene Simmons at this point. Like he's got the bass up there, he's fucking breathing fire. I'm like that guy. Now I've heard him talk, so let's just say I'm a little less enamored. We're not quite on the same.
The
point
guy who's kept the same look for the last 50 years, a little less enamored.
What could I say? But they were Jews. That's what I should have said to my dad. I didn't realize that at this time. I should have. That was the way I could have gotten out of that trouble. But no, I didn't know enough of back then. But now I really have to. What it really comes down to, the music that I just needed to listen to, felt almost compelled to listen to by said angst and, silliness. I have to go back to my friend Dylan, who was, honest to Christ, when I watched Stranger Things and I saw Eddie Munson the first time, I thought, holy shit, they did research on my friend Dylan. Like he is the archetype. The hair was the same. Absolutely. That big mop of dark hair going down, just, all the way down mid back, maybe close to ass at that point. Not really just because of any other reason that, most of the time he couldn't afford to get a haircut. Had the jean jacket on with the full patch on the back, right? Which I believe was probably Iron Maiden. He had a lot of Iron Maiden tapestries up on the wall. He had Ronnie James Dio, all of the, Ozzy, all of the scary music that had all of that satanic imagery on it. And that coalesced into such a special time here in America, which is really trying to make a comeback, by the way, the Satanic Panic. So not only was I drawn into and just, one might even say seduced to listening to this frightening, evil music. Everything from Ozzy to, as I say, right, even to Motley Crue, shout at the devil, oh my Lord, right? Just, and of course, the stuff I still listen to and still live to, Iron Maiden. I mean, they have a song called Number of the Beast. They are totally leaning into that shit. Every album cover is this undead dude. I think on one of their first album covers, he's just finished chopping somebody up, and then he has a lobotomy, and it just goes on and on and on. Just every type of frightening undead image. Saw them live once on the Fear of the Dark tour. That was still worthwhile. I'm telling you that right now, for the stage show, if nothing else. But yeah, Dylan, thank you for being my introduction to all the explicit lyrics, even though, again, I can't even say I remember them being that explicit. It was just that idea they were putting out there, right? This idea of devil worship, this idea of rebelling against your parents and not even listening to you. How could you do that? Because I was honestly a straight edge kid. Even when I was listening to this, even when I was hanging around this group, I was a straight edge nerd. I knew it. I got it. The kind of nice part was that these were the people, though. The funny part about it all was these are the people who accepted me, and we're still cool with that, even though they were the ones in the jean jackets and and looking all rough. Dylan, the house that they had for him, the trailer that they had for him in Stranger Things, that was this kid's house. He was on the wrong side of Framingham, as a matter of fact, RaShaun. Framingham, exactly, with everything that went with that. But still, I am so glad I met the kid. There was a rough ending, not gonna lie, but I'm still so glad I met the kid, because he opened up my musical frontiers to all kinds of shit, including to Rush, by the way. So there was still plenty of room for the nerddom in there. And what was so interesting was the interplay between that music, the Satanic Panic, and then we were all, this kid included, ended up LARPing together, right? So
the LARP.
So it was all there. Everything that everything that this hardcore fundamentalist Christian society was out there warning against, right? So I guess maybe they were right, really, when it comes down to it. I listened to the music, I heard the lyrics, I went out and LARPed. I mean, I'm not a member of the Satanic Temple now, but I kind of laugh. But at least I love when they go up and tweak the nose to the establishment, for sure, especially with their atheism and just in general trying to subvert expectations. And I think that was what the beauty of it was. Like, this whole world of this idea of subverting mainstream expectations. Ozzy, I don't know if I guess Ozzy did bite the head off a few things, right? But it happened. I guess he thought it was a fake bat. Whatever. You ever hear Ozzy talk? He's not the Prince of Darkness. Okay. He's got about 2 brain cells left that fire together, but God, did he love firing you up back in the day. He loved dressing like a wolf, right? Going out there singing Bark at the Moon. Actually the first one I remember album he remember getting into him in was an album called The Ultimate Sin, right? Which is like he's on the cover as sort of like a satanic beast himself, with this woman with these red eyes. And the first track off of that, still a banger, Shot in the Dark. Good one. Go out and listen to it. Like, that's still a worthwhile tune to listen to. It was mid-'80s, maybe not his best work, but it holds up, right? In it, again, he's not even really saying anything that bad, but the video has got this girl going to his concert and literally being possessed by a demon of some kind, and she ends up on the poster work of his art, of course, because she's listened to his music, right? I love it. I love that idea. I love how they leaned into the idea of, yes, if you listen to me, if kids, if you listen to me, you're going to end up like me. You're going to end up with my life. And I kind of loved how they leaned into it before that was even a term, right? Just going right with the image. Yep, kids, that's right. Everything your parents are warning you about is true. And that only made us want to listen to them even more. So, yeah, Dylan, wherever you are, hope you're doing as well as you can, and thanks for turning me all onto the dark side.
Dylan.
Dylan.
No, I think that was a good follow up to what I said, especially because you have that generation, like I touched on the generational hypocrisy of it all, especially if your parents are a Doors fan or fans of the Doors. And now you're seeing a lot of that now. So a lot of it has to do with not being familiar with the new, but yeah, it had to do with playing that line between being edgy and invoking these ideas of like evil things that your mom and your dad don't want you to know about, and again making sure you keep those record sales up.
I mean, let's face it, it was always good for record sales, right?
Absolutely.
Throw a pentagram on the cover of the album.
Absolutely.
Boom, all that.
I mean,
right?
because if it were not, then they would have cut that shit off right away. But yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah. And even in the hip hop community, I mean, Ice T, excuse me, almost said Cube. Ice T, I believe, was the one who's supposed to have grown up a little more middle class and not in Compton like Ice Cube, right? But they definitely had him lean into it, selling it, right? Selling the whole idea of being that gangsta, right? So,
yeah. Like, that was a big thing.
Yeah, people love to take advantage of that and subvert the expectation, but yeah. There's the people behind the music are just fine making the green and making the money off of that.
Absolutely.
Getting me to go out and buy that album just to piss my parents off. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, go out and buy 2 more.
Well, it's capitalism, gentlemen. It's the same thing in almost every industry we have. One in the news right now is our news networks. There are a couple lawsuits out there pointing out what's being said to you in front of the camera ain't exactly what the person's thinking behind the camera. So yeah, it's always been part of capitalism. Make some shit up and then hope you get enough people to believe it, and then push the myth as long as you can. Funny enough, you brought up Iron Maiden, because I gotta tell you, after a while, I kind of thought they were just lampooning themselves. I really thought those covers were basically like their Mad Magazine. Like, they knew what they're doing the first couple of times. And after a while, there's like, no one's gonna really continue to take it seriously with this shit, right? And each time they just keep coming with album covers where it's like, come on, this is the one where finally someone's gonna be like, all right, cut this shit out. But nope, they just keep going with it. To the
Eddie, it definitely, I think it feeds into itself. You're right, because there is a progression. They kind of try to tell a story. Oddly enough, a lot of their songs are historical, and it's like they are about historical events or things like that. They're actually quite intelligent. The Trooper, one of their biggest hits, is about the Crimean War, and like fighting with muskets and all sorts of shit like that. Of course, what do they have? They have Eddie holding the Union Jack, in the middle of the battlefield with everybody dead around him. But you're right. It does become kind of like an Alfred E. Newman thing. Almost to that point, AC/DC, I think it was Angus Young, said somebody about said people come up to me and say, you guys have 12 albums and they all sound the same. And I say, no, you're wrong. We have 13 albums that all sound the same, which I kind of loved. Again, I love when someone's that self-aware and we're like, yeah, but we're fucking AC/DC. So there you go. Right. So,
like, shame on you if you're buying an AC/DC album and you're not expecting AC/DC. I mean,
right?
That's
sort of his thing, exactly. It's like, yeah,
and it's that, and the fact that a lot of them, you're a couple of albums into this. You've been doing a lot of shows. You know what people want to see and what they do want to see and what they don't want to see. You've got this act down. Like you don't really feel like you need to lie about
working
it
for the weekend.
Everyone loves
working
it.
For the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, why would I, pretend like the thing that made me rich is bad?
I mean, I get it from a musician standpoint on both folds. One, like, I do have a lot of sympathy, not empathy. I don't know what the fuck it feels like, but a lot of sympathy for those artists who's like, we know we have to play a certain song at concerts. We know we do, but goddamn it, do we hate that song so much? Like, sometimes even more tragic, right? Sometimes even more tragic. You're hearing a story of like, it's a song they hated from jump. There's plenty of artists out there and bands out there who hated songs from the fucking jump. Literally, it was like the last thing they had to put on an album track to make it a full like EP, and someone pushes it to, like, especially back in the day in the radios, when the radios were dominant, someone pushes it to the wrong person. Sometimes it's just a mistake and it becomes like their number one hit of their existence. And every single show they show up, it's like literally it's like they're getting played to it by gunpoint. It's just I actually feel bad for them. And I also feel bad for artists who like try to do new things, right? Because often us fans who want to show up and support them, and to AC/DC's point, hear the same 13 albums in a row or some sort of variation. There are artists like, look, we like music. This is why we are musicians, and music is more than just the album that I gave you or the couple albums that we did. And it sucks because a lot of times if they could be very talented and good, but still not be successful when they try to do other things that push their art. I mean, Greg, you're the artist of the group. Imagine if you can only draw one thing or one style for the rest of your career. I'm willing to bet you probably stab someone with a couple of those art utensils before that'd be over.
How much?
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. Greg's like, every
and
man's soul has a price, and this is mine.
I mean, it sucks when no one's buying your soul. I was gonna say that the example I think about the most is "Hello Dolly," the Louis Armstrong track.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He did not really want to play. Like, he thought it was corny. He wasn't really feeling it, and so like he whipped it out, thinking that he was never gonna have to bother with it again. Turned his back. Thing turned out to be a hit. Next thing you know, hello, Dolly. Every goddamn night. It's Lewis.
Got Dolly. The white women all weak in the knees. All right. Well, with those excellent points, let's hand it over to RaShaun for his shot at bat here for his 10 minutes. What do you got? What was the music that absolutely made you not live up to your parents' expectations?
That's right. Listeners, I only listen to one music, the music, not even our music, the music. I would like to start off by pointing out Protestantism is amazing. And I'm about to prove this point. So in a lot of different parts of the world and cultures and history throughout, there have been plenty of examples, whether you go to classical music coming out of Austria and Germany, or any other variation of any sort of music you can find. I'm going to tell you right now, at least 50% of it, if not more, it was about fucking. Now, they may not have said it directly, or they just said it straight out, but it was always about fucking. So why I bring up Protestantism is because they seem to be, if you follow their line from leaving England to coming to the United States and even not even being the majority of the religion in this country, they seem to be able to continue to hold the line on what we value as okay or not okay, at the very simplest ways of putting it in terms. And because of that, and because it changes for whom is holding that power and point of view, we often look like freaking idiots. Why? Because again, if you look back at a lot of songs that both are controversial, even if you go back to the 20s and earlier, so like modern music recording, all the way to now, it's either controversial because of sex, or it's not controversial because they just didn't pick up on the fact that it was sex, or it wasn't controversial because they did pick up on it that it was sex, but they didn't give a shit because they didn't have anything better at the time. I bring that up because it's funny. We just talked about Louis Armstrong. He is one of the 8 individuals, I think, who have come out with their own version of Blueberry Hill. Have you listened to the song Blueberry Hill? Because you should. It's about fucking. It is about fucking. You can go on Nick at Night if you still have that cable access, or TV One, or whatever the fuck it is now, and I guarantee you they're going to come across some oldies, paid commercial, where it's all the oldies that like now our grandparents, which if you're my age, your grandparents have been dead for a while, so it's hilarious that those things are still running, but still, for the people in the 70s and 80s and 90s, commercials for them, it's going to have a bunch of songs. Well, guess what? If you listen to all those songs, most of them are going to be about fucking. So it's hilarious what we find controversial or what we don't, because in that moment, in that time, it could be controversial, but then we step away and we look at it, as Greg and Josh have both pointed out, what exactly were we controversial about? So I'm not going to focus on that, because to me, I think that's part of the idiotic nature this country continues to follow itself into, which is why we continue to have certain problems persist the way we do. I'm going to focus on a little bit something else and call it pandering. But being that it's March, I'm going to focus on the women. Hey, ladies, I'm paying attention in the crowd, not like these other jerks. So cozy up and let's get warm. So here we go. I'm going to focus on a couple of times women went controversial, but just like normal, women do a little bit better and a lot more subversive to ways that controversial would be easy if we just point out language problems, or it'd be easy if we point out someone clutching their pearls for something that's way too personal, but they make it public and people lose sight of that and they all run with the public outrage. Good example. We've covered this a few different times, but back in 1990, a group was literally arrested for their concert. And if you listen to what they had in their album, which was pretty bad, it wouldn't even come close to the shit that is out there right now. Shit that can make it onto a concert. Maybe not Super Bowl. Maybe not that. Apparently being pregnant is enough to send some people in a tizzy. However, yeah, I know.
Call back to last week's episode.
I know. Maybe if she showed up and said God made her pregnant, everyone would have been cool. But still,
that would have been fine. So
I guess only one person can get pregnant by God. But anyway, point being is that, not in that sense, but more controversial in ways that, like, yeah, that's controversial. That is fucking pushing the limit and fucking nailing. You're moving societies with this shit. I could point out something political that I'm not, but things like Dixie chicks and what they went through and reason why they're now Dixie. Look it up, people. Or is it just chicks?
The chicks. They dropped the Dixie. That was part of it.
If you want to see what happens when you're no longer part of the It Group, go ahead and look up how they had to change their name. Holy shit, because they were the darlings up until that moment for a certain crowd that immediately put them on a bunch of crucifixes. But anyway, not going to point out to that. I could go to the most recent with the good old fashioned WAP, but I think our friend Mr. Shapiro covered that. More importantly,
his wife covered that. Okay.
I was just about to say, I think his wife covered that in probably private chats left and right. And hey, Ben, you got at least 2 kids, so apparently you figured it out twice. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, turkey basters do a lot of work these days, so who the fuck knows?
So does the mailman, but hey, all right.
Yeah, right. I've seen that kid. Shapiro, one of your kids looks a little dark. But anyway, so a couple of things that have happened in my short span on this globe, my few 40 plus revolutions around the earth, and a couple of things that happened outside of it that I feel were absolutely the definition of controversy through lyrics in ways that not only, again, move societies, but definitely had an impact way more than just, oh my God, they're talking about fucking. Because again, you're talking about listen to songs. Yeah, you listen to songs that are talking about fucking. It's just how it is. I mean, you're talking to a person that had to sing medleys in middle school. Half those songs are about fucking. You know what that's like? Singing at 13 to a bunch of adults, some of your parents, where you have to basically be like in the back of your head, if you're smart enough, like, I am singing lyrics about fucking to my parents. This is not fun. And I had to do this for school. But anyway, my therapy sessions later, I'll get to that later. So point being is, I can go to like one of the first controversial moments that happened in our lifetime, and I'm talking about the 3 of us, was when Madonna came out with Like a Virgin. Holy shit. You would have thought this old country had never, ever broached the subject of women and virginity before this individual, who clearly wasn't a virgin at that time, came out with a song Like a Virgin. People didn't even get to the lyrics before they had a problem. People didn't even get to the lyrics. All she had to say was, this is the song I want to come with. Now, the funny part is Madonna, don't get caught in what she looks like now or some of the bullshit she's been pulling out for the last like 5 to 10 years to stay relevant. This individual, Madonna, has been so talented throughout her career for the most part and has been able to do a lot of weird but cool controversial things, because don't worry, once she was on Like a Virgin, she hit the religious side a couple years later with a totally different song. So that was a whole controversy, but it was hilarious because it made the whole country, while celebrating songs that are talking about sex, be upset with a woman talking about what would it feel like if, she had sex again that was just like it was when she was a virgin. I mean, honestly, that was controversy, but that moved the conversation. Another one that came out was right in the 1990s. We talked about this individual a couple of times, but Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor, even though she explicitly did not necessarily have a song against the Catholic Church, had no time or no problem using her platform and her position to be controversial. So I guess that's an asterisk, but I did feel responsible to bring her up because her conversation, like it or not, pushed the conversation about what was happening in the Catholic Church and some of the abuses, made a lot of individuals put magnifying glasses on areas that they refused to do so because of the controversy she caused, made conversations happen and helped out a lot of different people, a lot of people that frankly were not being listened to, which is going to lead to a theme of what I'm talking about, although I do have a shit talking moment. All right, so I know Josh is giving me the finger, so I'll just keep it moving. Can move to 1997 with Meredith Brooks. Now, funny enough, I hate this song. A lot of people hate this song. And this was also after the rise of things like the Lilith Fair. So we were already moving down the moment of women power in a very interesting way in the 90s. We already had Sarah McLachlan. We already had, like, I know I said her, and a lot of people who were during that little affair are going to be so upset that I'm leaving out people like Liz Phair or Anne DeFranco or something like that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to remember everyone, but the girl power movement, definitely from Alanis Morissette and her two albums, believe me. I had high school girls walking around like, we're not going to take any shit anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? We are sophomores. I don't even know what the shit you're talking about. We're like, we're not going to do it anymore. So, yeah, those moments. But Meredith Brooks, funny enough, she came out with this song in 1997 called "I'm a Bitch." Why is that controversial? Because why you can watch commercials where someone's calling someone a bitch. Why is that controversial? Because before that conversation was not happening like that. Matter of fact, it was very squarely, do not call anyone, let alone a woman, a bitch. And she comes out with her own song being like, nah, fuck that. I am a bitch and go fuck yourself. That was basically the premise of it. And a lot of women got behind that. And frankly, I was watching like, yeah, that's cool. Go for it. But it was controversial because she was one of the first people who not only owned that term, but turned around and said, I'm using it for power. So that was another person. Now, I said all that. I'm going to steal some time. I'm sorry. Mrs. Fink, you can be upset with me like you normally are because I'm the reason why we're always late. But here we go. So
she'll get upset at Josh.
2 times controversial moments have happened that were shit talking to a big group of people and they didn't even fucking know it. And in some cases, still barely know it. So one, I'm going to go with the serious and because I want to end with the light, even though this is going to be kind of hard, but bear with me. So in 1939, there was an individual who came out with a single, or in singles as much as they could be in that time, that was very big, but it was also part of her career. Now, it was kind of interesting because we were talking before civil rights. So the individual I'm talking about is Billie Holiday, who is one of the biggest musical stars that this country had ever seen up until that point, and frankly, still to this point. She was able to cross so many different barriers because of her talent and the people that got behind her. That was almost, in some cases, almost all fucking most as if she wasn't necessarily going through the bullshit everyone else was going through. Don't get me wrong. She still had to go through back doors and bullshit. She still was treated like a second-class citizen, but she was still, once again, like this country likes to do every once in a while, and by every once in a while, every fucking year and every day, elevate individuals that we denigrate left and right. So why is that important? She had singles left and right. So no one batted an eye when she had a song that she came out with called Strange Fruit. No one paid attention to the fact that what she was doing was calling America out to their face and pointing out that you have strange fruit throughout this country that should not be growing. What she was talking about was the lynching that was basically legal during that time. It was allowed to happen to the point where in some townships, it was actually put on like it was a goddamn town fair. They would get innocent individuals, sometimes from sundown towns for any fucking reason, it didn't matter. And they would lynch those individuals. And the only thing they had in common was they weren't white. Mostly black, predominantly black, but they were not white. And they were held like their damn government fucking base of events. Billie Holiday was one of the first people who publicly came out and said something about it. She put it in the song, and a lot of people who did not or should be picking up on that did not pick up on it. While some of us heard him like, thank you for saying it, but I'm not sure they understood what they just heard. And even to this day, a lot of people do not know the song Strange Fruit, and I wish that they did. Now, I want to end with something funny because this is also the height of controversy and such a chef kiss. Honestly, this is the fucking bar we all should be aiming for. We talked about a lot of people and a lot of controversy. We talked about a lot of lyrics and a lot of people pushing the fucking needle, but not one of them made a song about a fucked up breakup that they went through and then made their partner fucking play it and sing it with her and make it one of their biggest fucking hits. Shout out to Stevie Nicks because God damn it, girl. God damn it. How many people out there can have a breakup song and make their partner fucking sing it and play it with her and be part of their biggest hit, one of their biggest hits from their band? Now, to be fair to Lindsey Buckingham, "Go Your Own Way" was actually his breakup song to Stevie Nicks.
Song too, yeah.
They kind of already had it going, but still, Stevie, baby. That's how you do it, girl. That's how you shut it down. You go ahead and put that "go fuck yourself" lyric in there. It's also up there with like "You're So Vain," but I kind of felt like
no, that's next.
Silver
Like
Springs
You're So
was way
Vain,
better.
she didn't get Warren Beatty to sing on it with her,
Yeah.
right? And didn't make a whole album out of it.
And it might
which
be
is
about
what
a couple
Rivers
other
is.
people. Yeah.
Right,
Plus it might be, But Stevie, girl, that's what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, it's next level when you make the entire album about it. And then, Christy McVie, who just passed, God rest her, may her memory be a blessing, as we like to say in the tribe. She seemed oblivious, right? She writes, "You make love and fun" on that album. All of her albums are like, "I'm still having a great old time over here. What are you talking about?" So I hope she was happier through her life than the rest of the band. Well, I liked a lot of the points you're making, especially, I feel I don't want to say anything even remotely funny about Strange Fruit, because you're right. It is such a important song, and it is about such an important subject, right? It's interesting again, though, how you can put something out there and still make it be mainstream, even though it's holding up the mirror to the society that it's mocking, right? Or that it's trying to get to question itself somehow on some level. So nice weaving that in there. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that another crime that you could say it was even further back than that, because when you bring up Stevie Nicks and you start talking about, Janis Joplin and Joan Baez and Joni Mitchell, like these were fairly unfuckable women. And the idea was that, if you were going to be a woman and you were going to be
DJT, when'd you get here?
You had to, like you had to kind of, make yourself attractive and look like you were after a man and an ideal family. And these women did not project that. They projected that they were individuals and they projected their ideas. Facts. And it was probably the most unsettling thing about Lilith Fair when you looked at the women that came out of that period and that genre. It's not to say that Tori Amos isn't beautiful. It's just to say that Tori Amos didn't fashion herself after Mrs. Brady at all, and she was not objectifying herself at all. And if you're not going to do one or the other, that's probably the worst thing you can do, especially from a white woman.
Well, I was actually going to say to RaShaun, thank you for bringing up Lilith Fair, and I was going to thank you for bringing that up for Amelia. But after that, I don't know, she might be coming back on the show to say a few more things, but we'll find out. Hi, Amelia. We brought up Lilith Fair. Hey, congratulations. Amelia. Try not to hate us all. We're going to throw the bus for that.
Well, the main reason, two reasons why I'm never going to forget about Lilith Fair is, one, my mom wasn't necessarily a fan of it, but there are definitely some artists that were towards the end of Lilith Fair that she really liked. One was this group called Texas. And then the other reason is one of my best friends in life, and definitely during that time, since we're shouting out friends, shout out to Elena, because every once in a while I would look at the line, I'm like, yo, that's a pretty dope lineup. I kind of want to go. Like, she was a little bit older than me, so she was already going to the concert. I'm like, yo, I want to go. She just look at me like, nah. Nah. The same for you. I'm like, but come on, what about actually, like, 3 straight years I would ask her, 3 straight years she's looking at me like, you really are not reading the room on this.
RaShaun getting locked out of Lilith Fair. That's a story unto itself. That's a whole episode for another
She's
day.
Like, I'm a white lesbian. I barely feel like I'm involved when I go there. So I'm not doing that to you. I'm pushing credulity. She's like, I'm not making you. I'm not even going to let you think that's going to be okay. No.
Well, I mean, a shout out to Sarah McLachlan in the first place, naming it to Lilith Fair, because Lilith is the first wife of Adam, who says, no, I'm not going to be subservient to you. And of course,
she's like, fuck your ribs.
Right, exactly. Fuck those ribs.
The first vegan.
Yeah, exactly. And then is later portrayed as a demon. So, in some religious scriptures, but that is, of course, isn't that always the way that goes, right?
Well, redemption's right around the corner because she's also one of the best characters in the Borderlands video game. So there you go. That's one for one right there.
She that
That's
character
even score to me. No, I'm just kidding, ladies. I'm kidding. I am not serious.
Also a prominent character in Supernatural. If you watched all 15 seasons of that, which of course I did. So
2-1. There you go. You're winning.
There you go. I work it. All right. Well, I'm gonna land this plane here and bring it back around. But before I do, I just want to remind you, please take that moment to rate and review us on iTunes. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. We desperately want to make our living doing this. We need to sell some dick pills. So help us out. Help us sell some of that, some therapy. We can totally do that.
Dick pills. There's hers out there now.
Hers out there now. Yeah. Whatever, man. Equal opportunity.
We'll sell hers. We'll sell hims. We'll sell days.
Yeah. Days, thems, these dems and does.
Yeah.
Right.
Dems and does.
I don't give a shit. If you want to get off, we'll sell it.
Please, if you haven't already, follow us on the socials. We are Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram and the Steam Gentleman podcast on Facebook, because we're Gen X, we're old. We tried to do the TikTok thing, but then we were all worried. We were all worried that we were going to get our identity stolen, and the Twitter thing. And then as soon as we started that, Elon took over, and then said, Jesus,
embrace the downfall. They already stole your information.
That's it. Well, there's that. Yeah, right. I mean, we know that. We already got in the truck. We already got in the van with the creepy clown.
We didn't start the fire.
TikTok.
What? Adam and Eve? Well, I've never been there. What are you talking about? No, that's not me on camera. It's not me on camera.
There you go. So, nevertheless, but we appreciate that. But before we head out, let me find out. Well, I think actually, let me turn this to RaShaun. Well, just at least what you got going on. At least what in general, what are you gonna do?
Not screwing up my home security. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, fair enough. What are you gonna? Yeah, you're gonna be chilling, gonna be hanging out.
Like I say every time, try to make it to the next paycheck, baby.
There you go. All right. Well, RaShaun's chilling. RaShaun's hanging out, having a good old time. Gregory, what you up to?
Oh, it's gonna be an average ass week. We're having a storm.
Yeah. God. We can't go. This winter can't quite seem to decide what the hell it wants from us. It really is. It really is.
We're having a storm. If it gets cold enough, it might build a fire.
Yeah, there you go. A little fire.
Build that fireplace first.
That's about it. What's that?
So you might want to build that fireplace first.
It's in the fireplace.
No, I was bad joke.
Okay. He was going. He was reaching. It was. Yeah, we were trying. I was trying to help you out a little bit there, but all right. It's 13 albums that all sound the same. Did I mention that?
It's got canceled.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will, of course, as usual, I'll be trying to keep the kids alive. My oldest wants to run now, thanks to I think a little bit of encouragement for me. So he's going to join. He's going to be starting the running club soon. And my youngest has decided to pick up not only the most expensive sport, but the most expensive position in all of sports. He wants to be a hockey goalie now. So yeah, we really need those reviews, people. I need hockey pads for my kid. Okay, come on. I need goalie pads. I need goalie pads for my kid. Oh, I need it so bad. But anyway, we thank you so much for coming in and joining us here in the Steam Tunnels. Once again, my name is Josh, the Birdman, telling you to keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.